Vadim, thank you very much for accepting this short interview, I hope.
Big pleasure, thank you.
And hopefully painless. Now you're on tour with us, with Migros-Kulturprozent-Classics, with Tchaikovsky as a soloist, with the Orchestra della Svizzera Italiana, and we're enjoying it tremendously. I hope you too.
So do I.
I hope you too. And yeah, I think let's talk a little bit about music, if it's right with you.
Music in general, music particular, music
it's always
classical,
particular, I think.
the program we are playing.
Always. But maybe to start with the program, just to touch on this. Tchaikovsky, what does for you, being Russian, means to play Tchaikovsky, and especially this concerto, which
Well, I'll say, when you're very young, you dream about playing it, then you dream about learning it, then you dream to learn it finally, be able to play it, because it's incredibly difficult, just purely physically and technologically, just as it is one of the most difficult pieces ever written. Then you dream to be able to play. With the age, you dream that you be 17 or 16, to have this as light as you had it before. But then, of course, you mature yourself and you become a person that wants something in between the lines, in between the notes, in between the episodes, and how you build it up, and how good of the architect you are, a musical architect. And these things makes your life 10 times more difficult, because you want more from yourself, and you need to keep up with your wishes. You know, your physical condition, your mental, emotional state, with the dream that you have that somehow develops in your brain.
So you have to calibrate, not only in this piece, but let's stay with this piece, the ambition you have, which is always higher, with reality.
Yes. Well, reality, and put them as close to each other. And this concerto, I think Tchaikovsky has something special in my life. I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of every Russian player who, for whom I think this first time learning this concerto is a very special moment, and then it becomes, in a way, like a visit card for a violinist.
Yeah.
Because it is challenging, because it is so popular, because it is so beloved, because, and there are always few, I consider two ways of exploring, possibly enriching your own interpretation. Is either way, is one way is trying to do something shockingly unusual, and just to make somebody or everyone pull the eyebrow, or you look at the score, the second point, the second way, in a way that to see that, you know, this in the sea you have a reef with coquillage that grows and grows and grows, and it is something beautiful. But in the concerto, it can lead to some of the tradition that have been heard by the ear, and then multiplied, because it is popular, because it is played by everyone, and it is on the ear. And you kind of dig in the score and say, man, why everybody plays, changes the tempo almost to double in this place where it clearly you can feel that it has to be on one breath, and things like that. But it's not bad, not good, it's just the way. And I think this second way I'm trying to do with this piece very often, especially after a long time, I put it aside, because, you know, by playing it, maybe, I don't know how many 100 times I played it, there is always the challenge is emotional reproduction of yourself every night. And if you don't get it from your life experiences, and on the tour you don't, when you have, like, we have 5 times in a row every day, it's barely enough time to sleep and get to the next place. This piece I wanted to underline is such an amazing piece of music that once you start the first note, opens up some incredible a decoration, I would say, the mental decoration, that you open it somewhere, yes, and the doors are open in a beautiful theater, the stage, and the whole world of this I don't know, very touching, very tender, extremely flashing, brilliant. All of these epithets would fit this concerto.
When it opens a door, does it from time to time open a door also to your youth with a certain, what it's called, Russian melancholy? What of course is not a negative feeling, but it is something which relates to a long tradition.
I think it's incredibly melancholic, and I am the personality that can actually dive into melancholy myself, and it is another very important state of mind that we live time to time, and in fact that is another way of recharging your emotional strength.
How do you recharge your emotional strength? I mean, knowing that in Russia, of course, there's this saying, "Люблю, страдаю, умираю," and everything maybe is a little bit more exaggerated, but also more refined, I found, especially working in Russia. Is Russia still, as a cultural country, not of course as a political item, but is Russia with your roots, with your family roots, is this still something which can recharge your batteries, even though you're not living in Russia, but just by memories?
Well, in fact, I do live in Russia.
You do?
A lot of, I spend a lot of time as well. It's for me, in a way, became lately very important because I never lived in Moscow. I jumped from Siberia all the way to Europe, to Germany, and I lived in different countries in Holland, in south of France, in Monte Carlo, Switzerland, many years. I'm still living, and my address as well, and as much as I can, I come to stay in Geneva. But in Moscow also, I feel myself that I'm missing if I'm not there.
Really?
In a way, often, constantly, in a way. It's quite important for me.
But can you pinpoint what it is that it makes it so important? Is it also because one can say this is your mother tongue and your fatherland, or is it more?
Well,
is it something more?
I think I'm following in a way and trying to follow this wonderful tradition that's been created through a few hundred years now. To speak of the latest, heroes of ours, is of course the Richter or Oistrakh, and I think it's just the dedication of yourself, dedication of your mind, dedication of your time to your instrument and to the music, and in a way a respect to the pieces that you're performing. And I think it's a very strong tradition, and I'm in a way feel very proud that I'm trying to go this way. And those are heroes for me. And the mental, Menuhin, I remember we spent few years traveling together, playing concerts quite often, in fact also in Switzerland, in his wonderful Stadt Festival. And I noticed also quite a similar attitude to public, a respect, a real respect, from coming from the heart, that your public that are in the concert, you must create this amazing energy exchange. Yes, that. So for me, those are really important points along going with playing concerts and leading a career.
May I ask you something? Because I felt myself this very strongly in Russia. This is this tradition, this real tradition of enjoying, also aside from the public, classical music. And people come with a certain knowledge. They don't come so often to show their nearest fears first. Maybe some Novi Ruski, but in general, it's because there's this tradition of love and of respect towards classical music.
Before the classical artists, they were as highly praised as the Gagarin, the first person who went on space, or a sports legend or hero. So that was another way of another field of something that you would consider as important as sports or science and so on. And the system that's been for many years, it's always questionable. Any system is questionable. But during this Soviet era, there was an amazing structure of education that was built. And at the point that when you entered such a specialized school or university, you don't think about anything else but this is your profession, this is your choice, and you kind of dive into this and let your life be serving that particular profession. And for music, it was quite similar as well.
Although you had, for example, in the case of many artists like Sviatoslav Richter, for example, you were not forced but asked to do tours and go also to places, to kolkhoz and play recitals.
But it doesn't mean anything. I think it's fantastic. I myself do concerts in all possible settings where people like to listen to classical music. Yeah. And even our tournée is going not only Geneva, Zurich. We have other smaller, much smaller places, and especially in the international map, I would say smaller places, where we had phenomenal public, and the energy was so mind-blowing that I felt myself extremely happy after those concerts.
Do you think now that, of course, the system is a different one, but do you think the tradition will be strong enough in Russia to withhold this wonderful achievement, which actually, one has to say, it's not only an achievement by the Communist Party, it started already in the 19th century.
Of course, well, the love for music and love for digging into the classical music and comparing things and knowing the different interpretations. And quite often I hear this, you know, through the friends of friends of friends. So actually people I may not even know, but it's just in the end, in the conversation comes up that somebody said, oh, tonight I'm going to concert to hear what I was playing. I was playing, oh yeah, I was playing Janacek Sonata. And so this person, through already a few friends, said, you know, today I've listened to the recording in the morning because I'm going to listen to, you know, recital. It was our with Boris Berezovsky, and I just needed to listen to it, and then to be, prepared. You know, not even prepared, but to have an idea at least what it is about. And that is somehow very strong in Russia.
Still very strong in Russia.
There are, of course, you know, with everything is like every medal has two sides, and the same politics now. In Russia, unfortunately, there was a tendency that children's rights, people's rights, some lawyers was doing their kind of job, and it was about to be released a new law to prohibit all these schools, to make them as not as a official institution for your school or for your education, right? But it could have been just as a private kind of stuff. So you go to regular school, but if you have a little wish, you can go there. It's like, you know, would take away the whole idea that is the actually holy place
then
where you get
a luxury product.
All your and it would be, of course, pity to lose. But I think finally a lot of great personalities. Wait, people, come on, get over, and that was our one of our main, of course, golden treasures, achievements.
Absolutely. In general, now you live less, I guess, in Russia than you live in the West. You probably spend more time in Western countries than you spend in Russia.
I cannot say where I spend more time.
In the plane,
it depends on the month. Yeah. Well, this month in Switzerland, what is it, 7 days is about as much ever I get in one place. Yes. So this month is a month of Switzerland, and in February I have about 4 orchestras: Chicago, Philadelphia, Seattle, and in New York. In the end, it's going to be a full month in America. And so I cannot say, and then, well, of course, my holidays, I'll have them in Russia, some 3 days.
But you're traveling so much, and often people like you are asked, what is the engine of keeping you always to be motivated each night? Because let's say every third night, more or less, you're on stage. What is the engine behind this musicality? Of course, this is given, this is in your DNA, but what keeps you, or do you have to motivate yourself all the time?
Well, I think in music itself, it is an amazing rotor, it's an amazing push, because once you start in a piece, as just a bit earlier we spoke about Tchaikovsky concerto, once it opens the first note, the first buzz, you feel extremely happy, you feel yourself somewhere. Of course there are times when you're extremely tired physically, and so you have to use all you have to hide it and to be as fresh, as open, as
people
ready as people expect to you. Yeah, so it's hard, but it's a part of the profession. But again, the pleasure of making music, the pleasure of being on stage and making that special sound that would go through the skin, it's a very, very electrifying experience, and I don't think I get ever tired of it.
This is one thing, but of course, because it is so great, and if someone has experienced this, one can understand how strong it is. And not only on stage, I guess also when you rediscover also by looking the score piece again, it gives you this energy to go more and further and to look and to rethink things. But is there also a sacrifice for this kind of life, being, let's say, together with music, like in one family? Because I can imagine that music for you, like for any musician, is like being, let's say, stupidly married to a home or family.
Yes, yeah, I see what you're saying. Definitely, when you're on stage, there isn't, you don't think about anything else than performance, the music, the piece. And then in this place, of course, you're not where you want to be the rest of the day, so it wouldn't be nice, you know, to have this time, place, machines that would just jump you. Of course, it's very tough. There are no recipes, there are no things. One should not cry in one way, saying, you know, oh, it's so lonely, it's so terribly. We all have choices, and we all make our choices, and me including. I'm looking 3 years ahead, and I have to make choices. And sometimes you make choices, and then reality comes. After 2 years, you feel different. You wanted this to be in the other way, but you learn about this too. It's scheduling. It's very important and very difficult process, and you need big experience. So nowadays, I probably live much more free blocks of time, and in the end, just making your decisions.
One of the last questions, I think, if I may ask you, is do you think really that a musician has to be, in the eyes of the non-musicians, something special? I'm not saying that every musician is special in a good way or a bad way, but do you think that as a musician one should be different than the audience which comes to listen to us?
Should be, this I don't understand.
Or is different?
I think we're all different. Every personality is different, on stage, off stage. Then, no, I don't like to make levels or
maybe I put it wrong.
That way.
Maybe I put it wrong. What I wanted to say is
it's maybe if to keep kind of yourself in a distance.
Not so much distance, because the music goes from heart to heart.
That's what I mean. That's what you create, to break all of the distances. So you try to, in fact, be in this idyllic situation, idyllic world during the concert, that it's not enough for a great concert to have a wonderful orchestra, wonderful soloists and great music. You need a public, and this public is everyone who somehow have a vibes and either reacts on it or not. You can see people either sitting like this at the concert or at the edge of the chair, you know.
I like musicians too.
with the interest in the eyes, and with kind of readiness to, the German word comes now, finally, Mitleid. Things that we need, I mean, simply speaking, I think what we do is we invite our public to take a musical journey, and it is up to them to board aboard with us or not.
Do you feel this energy while you're playing, which
Yes,
comes from the public?
well, it's each time different. I look at the faces. I look when I have free time in the two keys.
Not in the cadenza.
Well, sometimes in the cadenza, in between some of the special passages that supposed to sound brilliant. No, for me, it's just everything very important, very interesting mechanism how it all works.
Just to come back on this question, was to be different or should be different is because many times the public expects from the soloist to be taken in another world, which is maybe a foreign world to them. And each one will discover this world with his own feelings. But there's an expectation that the artist is not a man or a woman like they are. But it's something.
You say it so.
But are you aware of this?
Fantasically, it's a fantasy. I don't know. I never question myself in that direction. I think unity is what we need for music, and that's what is actually high goal for us. And if I feel different, well, I think everyone feels in a way different, you know. Everyone's, I'm talented, and who is not, in fact. Everyone has his own talents, and here we're speaking about some people that were born for this or that, and somehow the line of their life brought them to this something what they can do better than average, let's say. And this comes not so often, but when it hits the spot, and I know a few people to whom it happened, it is a phenomenal thing.
I would like just a last question to ask you is about the young generation. I mean, you are very young. You are 40.
Not
but
yet.
Of course,
oh, not yet.
Not yet, but you will turn 40.
I will, yes.
In some years. What can you say to the younger generation, which now will turn, let's say, 20? And one can see, not only in Russia, that the world of classical music has changed, like it is always changing. This is nothing new. But it is changing maybe in a way, in a very rapid way now with the CDs, which are not important or not as important anymore. The majors maybe not as strong anymore. The whole agency process is different. What do you say to these young people if they ask you advice what they should do in their life unless they have talent and they are very disciplined in their work?
Well, I think everyone must choose his own line, what he wants to do. Because instrument, if one can already get along quite good with the instrument, it's just the very beginning. Then you have your conception, your priorities. And once you have those, once it's something here, something you learn, you get experiences, one should not compromise those with finances and
private life also.
No. Finances and PR, what we call in marketing. Yes. So very often marketing decisions can harm you much more than actual progression, maybe at a slower pace. Yes. And I think that's all I would say. And the CDs, well, I understand also, you know, now a lot of people also traveling, you know, the world has become with the air costing nothing. Everything is moving 10 times as was 40 years ago, 30 years ago. And yes, if you want your musical collection, if you do not take CDs with you. But coming to here, I would underline that with these problems, let's call problems, it's not a problem, it's in fact just some companies don't make that much money, just making a little less or not at all. But this is again, it's a business side of it. But the live concerts, I think, were and they are, and I hope, and I'm quite sure that it will stay, that the live performances is the goal, is the infinite. The CDs, it's somehow documentary. Yeah. And those documentary we ought to do this. We like to, it's the only chance for us to live something else, because I don't write music, you don't write books, those documents that can stay. So in our form it is a musical form. And so documents will stay, and only the history, only the next generations will either still buy them, will have interest on that or not. But again, for me, most important and the greatest experience is definitely a live concert.
Thank you so much
for
this interview. It was a great pleasure, and we wish you, and for us too, of course, a great success tonight. And
thank you.
Maybe in 40 years' time again, we will have the same interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.